What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Simple Dad Podcast. I am your host, Quincy Forte, and I am joined by my brother, Remon of the Urban Advocate. What's up, bro?
What's happening, man? What's going on with you?
Chilling, man. I was trying to think of your moniker. Like, which one are you going by now? So I was about to say Razor Ramon, but then I was like, and I stalled and I froze, so I couldn't think of a
Uh,
moniker.
yeah, no, somebody asked me about Razor Ramon earlier because of a post that I made on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, they saw it and they was like, "Are you a wrestling fan?" I was like, yeah, I used to be." Like way back in like I'm a like 90s, early 2000s wrestling fan, like not so much lately.
Yeah, I don't know that I can watch it. And it's even more weird now, obviously during these times.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was watching something. I was scrolling through ESPN, kind of looking at highlights and stuff. And I'd been completely oblivious to that they had started back the UFC.
Mm. Oh, did they?
But with no fans
No fans
in
and
the
all
crowd.
that. Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah.
And so that would be cool if the sport didn't rely so heavily on people cheering, and especially when the announcer's announcing your name. It was really
Mm.
sad that the only people that were cheering for the fighters were the people in their corner. You see the guy behind the fighter, he's clapping. He's like, yeah, yeah. And it's just like one or two people clapping. And the dude is still having to hype himself up. So he's like,
Mm.
and he's jumping. And I'm
Mm.
like, but there's nobody there. What are you getting hyped for?
Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing with WWE right now. Like they've been doing it with no audience, with no crowd. So, but it's funny because you see the wrestlers that's still coming out like there is a crowd. So they're like when they're holding up the like they win a championship belt, they holding up their belt to the crowd, getting on the turnbuckles like, yo, there's nobody there.
I think so, and it's funny though because I mean maybe you look at the mindset of those people and like so maybe it's always like we're seeing it as awkward, but the
Hmm.
kind of mental space that they have to get in maybe it's always like that to them and it's always
Right.
quiet and dead quiet, so it's not really a change for them.
Mm.
Um, but I mean for us or for me as a spectator, we're not in the zone with them, so it just seems weird. Like it's like me getting myself hype in my bathroom mirror.
Yeah, so like I know one thing that they did with WrestleMania. I'm not sure, if you got a chance to like even get a glimpse of it, but one thing that they did with like WrestleMania that I thought was pretty cool, the Undertaker had a match with this guy AJ Styles, and I love the way they shot it because instead of doing it like in a ring,
Mm,
they did it. They had like a boneyard match. So basically, it was shot the way they shot it. It was like they was doing like an action movie. It was like so they
yeah.
were shooting a fight scene for an action film because it was like outside and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that like that's something that they could implement like moving forward is taking it out of the ring and doing stuff like that. It was a lot more theatrical.
At this point, uh, I think they're gonna have to start CGIing people into the crowd. Like, I mean, it can be done, and you can add a bunch of post effects, and you can pretend that it's live, or figure
You,
out some way to CGI people live. But at this point, I mean, I think just for the energy's sake, you're
I'm
gonna have to
pretty sure they
CGI
could do it.
people.
I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
sure they got the technology to do it.
so I think that's where it's going to go. And so if you're looking at this, we're recording this May 19th. I'm making a prediction that live sports, football, basketball, baseball, will be 25% capacity, but then the other 75% will be CGI people. You may see some repeated people throughout the crowd as the camera pans the audience.
It's TV magic. You know what? Like that reminds me of when I did the Jordan commercial
Yeah,
back in I think it was like 2012 for the Olympics. Um, like when we did that commercial, basically what they had us do was like all of the like audience people who were supposed to be in the crowd, like they had us like shooting in one set of bleachers. We was at the American Airlines arena or
Mm-hmm.
center, and they had us shooting in like one part of the stands, and then they just kept moving us to different parts of the stands until they had like a whole side filled up. So I mean, it's possible they can do
Did you bring your backup shirt? Because you need to change shirts for this next section.
it. No, we kept the same clothes on for the whole day.
That's so funny. Yeah, I guess I didn't. I mean, it's TV, like you said, TV magic.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't understand, but it's possible, man. And I guess speaking of fights, so the other thing that I saw like this week was Mike Tyson. He's getting
mm,
ready to get back in the ring.
yeah,
And then I saw him sparring, and then like somebody had posted a picture side by side of Mike Tyson in December of last year, and then Mike Tyson now. Like he had a little gut back in December, but now
mm,
he's back in fighting shape. And I saw him throwing hands, and I
yeah.
was like, I still would not say anything foul to Mike Tyson. He's
You know
almost
what?
60 years old, right?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't say anything foul to Mike Tyson. I don't care if he got a gut or not. He's still, as long as those hands are functional, he can still knock somebody out.
Uh, Let me look up his age right now. Let's see, 53. At
53.
53, I still would not take him on. And even like 3 or 4 years ago, when he made that hilarious video where he fell off the hoverboard, like I wouldn't even laugh like in his person.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I laughed at my house, but I would not laugh in his presence. I'd be like, Mike, you all right,
not at
man?
all. Not at all. That just reminds me of like when Jamie Foxx did his stand up and he was like, man, if Mike Tyson walked in here right now, you'd be scared. Like it'd be like somebody walked in the like if somebody walked in the room and just let their pit bull off the leashes.
Yeah, he's crazy, man. Like, I mean, because not necessarily classify him as crazy, right? But like like his mental space, man, he just gets off on that fighting, like that
Mm-hmm.
warrior mentality. Um,
Yeah, and it's funny because I think I heard something about Evander Holy, but not a, yeah, Evander Holyfield was wanting to get back into it, so we might see an Evander Holyfield Mike Tyson rematch again.
so he could bite the other ear.
Right.
Mike
Exactly.
Mike comes out with like a full head guard on, like not this time,
This time
not
is
this time.
instead of being like I'm gonna eat your kids, I'm gonna eat your grandkids now.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Uh Man, yeah. So what's been on your agenda this week? What have you gotten done? What are you finding as the new norm in this Corona now week? What, like 46 lockdown or whatever?
Something like that. Man, just same thing, man. Is just trying to make the most of the time. Been reading and um, just trying to maintain whatever mental stability I can because sometimes you get closed in and four walls start closing in on you. But I've been doing a lot of just like mentally trying to maintain myself. So just taking care of that. Plus, been working out a little bit, been getting out walking and doing exercises in the morning, trying to take care of myself physically. So just doing a whole lot of that, just trying to recenter myself.
Yeah. No, I've kind of been doing much of the same. Like anybody who knows me knows that I read quite a few books all at once, just because it's hard
Mm-hmm.
for me to read just one book all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, I'll tell you, I'm reading um, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
Um, I'm reading a sci-fi book uh, that's really weird, but it's kind of fitting for these times.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so one that I have on the docket is actually Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, essentially the modern day philosopher of our time,
Mm-hmm.
or modern day philosopher of our time. And so those are the three
Mm-hmm.
that I'm actively reading or in the process of reading. Um, and then I have The Alchemist, which is coming on Amazon, which is about kind of like um, the Muslim Islam sort of prophet, and
Right.
how essentially how the Quran was written.
Right.
So yeah, those are my inspirations during this time, and I'm trying to find censor to where I'm back writing music. I just got those studio monitors in, and so looking to get back into that creative space. So that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of my hope as this is shaping up to we may, for me, for my job, I may be working from home till the end of the year. So I might
Mm-hmm.
as well all that time where I'm like, man, I never have time to write an album. Like I can't do this. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting here. I got
Yeah.
technology. I got
Yeah.
every instrument I need, and most of them can be digital. So I mean, it's time to at least do something.
Yeah. I've been working on trying to knock out scripts and stuff for like short films that I want to do. And also like I've been working on like a couple of like TV shows almost
Hmm.
that I've been working on editing. So I mean, I got a lot on my plate too, but yeah, it's just been trying to stay busy and trying to stay productive, man.
And now's the time for individual contributors, especially, just because, like, I mean, media as we know it is kind of not the same at all.
Right.
And like you start
Right.
looking at, I mean, we talked about this on like the first episode. You look
Mm-hmm.
at the quality of media and how everybody's kind of at the same level, and the networks are struggling. And like some of the giants, Nipsey Hussle sort of predicted this. I think it's the song. It's either Real Big or Make a Million While You're Young, where he has like an
Mm-hmm.
outro where he's talking about, I think it's Make a Million While You're Young, where he's talking about how the media giants are going to crumble. He's like, there's a lot of digital disruption that's about to happen. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about Corona, but he was talking
Right.
about
Right.
these creators being able to sort of take the power back into their own hands and create something and be more versatile and agile than like the networks who were stuck in their ways and who, if it didn't fit in this formula, they didn't want to take it on or push the boundaries a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you had to kind of see it coming. I don't think anybody saw it coming in this way, but people have been predicting for years that the playing field was going to get leveled out eventually. So
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Yeah, man. So let's sort of get
oh,
into
real real quick
yeah.
before you get into that, I wanted to make sure saying because I know you said you was reading The Alchemist. Um, just for everybody out there that's on Ramadan, all my Muslim folks out there, you know what I'm saying? Like peace to everybody because they out there they doing their Ramadan right now. So
Oh yeah, for sure. They fast longer than I fast.
yeah, I normally fast during February and August. And like recently I started doing like maybe like a couple weeks in November, maybe, but you know, still not as long as they do.
Oh, it's definitely a struggle, man. So I'm doing I try to do 19 to 20 hour fast before I eat, um, like every Monday through Friday.
Mm,
It's hard, man. So I don't know how to do 6 to 6, but I guess it's about the spirituality and the mental aspect of it. And then once
hmm.
you've done it, then um, it's not that much of a challenge because you just kind of conquered your mental. So,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah. So now speaking of that, so let's get into today's topic, which is it's going to start off with story time, folks.
Okay.
Um, so we me and Andrew have been playing kind of video games a little bit, and like he's sick, so he's just now getting into it. We're not gamers. He tells me that he's a professional gamer, and then I'm just an amateur.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of let him have that. I mean, because
Yeah.
he feels this is his arena.
Like, I mean, you could be like, man, I've been playing video games since before you was born, and be true.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but it's so funny. There's confidence in it. Even though it's really funny because like the game that we're playing, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to like work together as a team and do all these things. And half the time he wants to just do free play
Mm,
because it's a superhero game, and so it's a Lego superhero game. So he thinks that he can just go and like do all these other things and just break stuff.
mm,
But when it's time to fight the bad guys and do the mission, he's like, I don't really want to do that. I just want to run away, and then like you handle it. So it's kind of funny. But he's like, no, I'm the better gamer though.
right, right. Maybe it's
uh,
because he has like a strategy.
yeah,
Let my partner do all the fighting.
not get beat up is his strategy.
Right, yeah.
Uh, um,
Sound like Floyd Mayweather.
but, oh, it's a defensive strategy. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But so we were playing, and we have been playing. I mean, I think we've so we've been playing for a few weeks. I think he when did he get this game? Uh, I can't remember. But like we really don't let him play that often, right? So it's like maybe an hour
Hmm.
um, when we're playing together. If no parent is playing with him, he only gets
Hmm.
20 minutes of screen time on video games. And so I've been trying to kind of play with him just so we can like do something together and kind of have a bond and stuff like that, spend some time together. So needless to say, we've been playing this game for a minute. If you know anything about me, most people don't know this, but I've never really truly beat a video game. If it wasn't Madden and it's not making it to the Super Bowl or MLB, baseball or basketball making it to the championship or winning the championship, I never
Hmm.
really beat a game. Like, so your standard Marios or your Final Fantasies or any of those things, I never really had the patience for them.
Right.
So, all that to say, we finally get to a point to where we beat the game. Um, it rolls the credits and it does the thing, and then like once you beat the game, it unlocks free play. So we're like, oh, cool, we can do free play. This is awesome. Um, and so before I tell you this last part, the we're playing it on the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch has an option to where you can go into sleep mode. Um, it turns the system off,
Hmm.
um, but some way or another it keeps the game running. And the games are these little, they're like SD cards. So
Hmm.
I'm like, all right, no big deal. It keeps the game running, or at least has a placeholder for when you boot it back up. So every
Hmm.
time you boot the system back up, it starts back where you were, like no issue.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, cool. It's doing what we needed to do. We're good. So fast forward to us beating the game. It rolls the credits. We're like, yeah, all right, we can do free play.
Hmm.
Uh, at this point, we're doing free play. The game says shutting down, unexpected error, and I'm like, cool. It'll just restart the game. It's already been saving because there's a little icon at the bottom of the screen. Every time you get to a new place, it kind of saves your position. So start the game back up, load game, and I noticed that on the load game piece, it said has not been saved since the last time there was a save to your profile was 5/8. And I was like, yo, it's the 17th. I was like, what do you mean the last time it's been saved was 5/8? It's been saving, it's been doing these little things this whole time. So I was like,
Hmm.
maybe that's an error. We load it, bro. We are back 6 levels to where we need to be to beat the game.
Yeah.
So
Right.
now we have to go through this whole exercise of beating the game all over again.
Wow.
Uh, and we were over halfway through the game. And
Wow.
so, yes, there were so many words that I wanted to say that I could not say in front of him because he's 6. And then Marley has those beautiful angelic ears, and she's four
Right.
and a half months old.
Right.
Uh, he is like, man, we got to do this again. But I'm so frustrated that I was like, dude, I don't even want to play this game right now. And so like I
Right.
had to
Yeah.
go back to work because I kind of play it like on my lunch break. I use my lunch break
Mm-hmm.
to kind of hang out with him since we're all at
Mm-hmm.
home anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, dude, I would much rather go back to work right now. Like this is there's no way
Just
I can
take
do
take
this.
my mind off of this.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so all of that, and I started thinking to myself, and I was like, dude, I know better. Um, I, as the the elder figure in the house, know
Mm-hmm.
that we come from a time. What do your teachers say when you're working on a computer? Like, make sure you do what?
Always save your work.
You got to save your work, or else you're gonna have to come back all over and do
Mm-hmm. And
this
do it all over again.
because the system's unreliable.
Right.
Um, and uh,
Same thing I have to tell myself when I'm editing videos
yeah, your computer could shut down at any
at any
given
moment.
point.
Software
Um,
can
and
freeze up.
and so anytime you do anything major or you've done a big chunk of work, it's
Mm-hmm.
always great to save your work. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
trust cloud documents because like working on like a cloud thing platform like Box, if I'm working on it and I'm editing it online, I'll exit out of it to refresh it to make sure it saves and then get back into the online cloud document. And so
Right.
I don't know why. Maybe I just thought or I felt that Nintendo had their act together, or maybe I leaned on Nintendo way too much as a crutch. And
Yeah.
so that kind of got to the lesson or the thing that I learned out of the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I kind of wanted to translate to him. And so in my frustration, I said to him, I was like, dude, I was like, man, this is horrible. I said, but from now on, we have to do the things that we can do and implement the actions that we can control. I said, so no more hitting sleep whenever we exit for any game. Like if there's an option to save, we hit, we go through the right protocol and the right sort of items to get to
Mm-hmm.
make sure we save our work. That way
Mm-hmm.
we're set up in a better place uh, to just begin again or to keep pushing forward. And so I think that from my perspective, that plays a lot more into like life in general, right? So if you think of like right now, we're talking about Nintendo and systems and things like that.
It's
But if you
just a
look at
game.
it, yeah, it's just a game, right? But if you look at
Right.
the greater universe or the macrocosm or whatever, you start to look at systems as maybe a family system or maybe a work system or maybe a school system to where you build up a relationship. We built this long-standing relationship with the Nintendo Switch. It's never let us down before. We were always able to start and go. Um, but the Monday was it Monday? Monday. What is today? Today's Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so just
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, the system let us know that it's unreliable. Like no matter how much faith we in the relationship that you build, there's always going to be some unreliable aspects or component, right? So it's the same thing. Like if we look at jobs, like it's
Mm-hmm.
unreliable, especially everybody in this COVID thing who we
Mm-hmm.
may think that we're secure, but when the financials really hit the fan, it's like, well, business decisions have to be made
Right.
in a family system, decisions have to be made. And if you're not necessarily uh, have your piece of it covered, um, then you're kind of going to be stuck out in the cold, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to get your thoughts on kind of just that idea and that whole thing.
Well, I think we as people, we tend to put our trust in things. Because like you said, certain things have never really let us down, whether it's a job, whether it's um relationships, whether it's the government, whether it's whatever religion you practice. Like we put our trust in things that and we hope that things will never fail us. It's almost like we won't even give it a second thought. It's almost like I was listening to Lupe Fiasco talk earlier. It's just like, and he was just kind of like breaking down how crazy it is that just that we drive. You know what I'm saying? Like we drive in cars. It's like this big metal box that we're driving in with all of
Right.
this explosive material around us. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and we get on the freeway and drive, you know, 75, 80, 90 miles an hour. Some people breaking the speed limit, driving 100 miles an hour down the road in this big metal box that could explode at any given moment, and how
Mm.
crazy that is. But we put our trust in these things. And, we trust that these things won't fail us. But, you know, I think it's always, I think there's a healthy amount of caution that we should take. You know what I mean? That we should always give ourselves some sort of uh, safety net and some sort of plan B and some sort of out just in case the system does fail us. You know what I mean? Like, and always plan for the unexpected. You know what I mean? And it's like, I used to have a saying, it's like, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's just like you hope that everything goes the way it's supposed to. You hope that the system doesn't crash. You hope that, you know, when you get to level 13 that the system is going to save your work. You hope when I'm editing video and I'm making adjustments or making revisions, I hope that the software doesn't freeze up on me. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But just in case it does, before I make one more revision to this video, let me go ahead and save my work. You know what I mean? Let me go ahead and bookmark this part just in case it does freeze up on me. You know what I mean? So, like I say, just we have to learn how to, you know, like I say, just go back to my old saying is hope for the best but prepare for the worst. Even as when you're going into like parenting and stuff like that, um, you know, there's a certain system that you kind of give for your children. You know what I mean? And as they're growing up, that system or that structure that you provided for them, it may not work for what they end up growing into, right?
Yeah.
They may not, they may grow up and the system that you and the structure that you provided for them, it may not work for the direction that they going in. But um, it again, it's just preparing for anything that can happen. You never know what can happen. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, no, and I mean, you're 100% right. You do never know what can happen. But one of the things that I want to sort of get out of this and maybe go back to a little bit is the fact that you said um, that, the Lupe thing, that people are putting their faith in this metal box and driving down the highway. Um, and they're willing to take that risk. But a lot of people aren't willing to necessarily take the risk in belief and investing in themselves, and then
mhm, mhm,
thinking about the system from a perspective of um, a little bit selfishly, right?
mhm,
From the what can I get out of this situation,
mhm,
instead of I mean, everybody, I'm lucky to be here, right? But then there are things to where you can go into a structure or a system and you can just exist, or you can take a look at the system that you're in and say, how can I change this, and how can I be impactful, and how can I move this? A lot of people won't take that risk to be impactful, and to move the needle in the system, to kind of maybe even anchor themselves as a staple or to position themselves for the next move. Um, and so, I mean, I think that people a lot of times want to play it safe and rely on that system. And like, you know, if you're thinking a job, like you're like, hey, I want to stay here for 20 years instead of being like, um, you know what? I have a 5 year span here. I can do this is what I want to accomplish in 5 years. And then I have my next journey or this next level of evolution that I want to get to. So after 5 years, I'm gonna save my progress, everything that I've learned, or even year to year, um, save my progress, take what I've learned, and see where I want to sort of get to the next level. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I think a video game is a perfect uh, sort of metaphor, kind of for getting to the next level in a lot of things. Because you go through, and if you look at kind of how games are designed, you can't get to the next level unless you develop the skill or get a new weapon or a new character through this one level that it took you so much to get through, and you've gone through so many adversities. Once you have conquered those challenges, and then it's like, all right, you know, now you have what it takes to get to this next thing because you have all the stuff that you've built up. But then there's other things that you have to sort of take on to become this new person, this new level. And then you get there, you beat the big boss, all the stuff that you've learned kind of culminates or accumulates, I should say, into where you are now. And then you go through the same progression with everything historic and get to the next level. And so, um, but it's always about benchmarking and kind of saving your progress, looking at where you are, um, but then also thinking about it as a grand picture, grand scheme of things, as to uh, grow and get to somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think in terms of when you're looking at career wise, I think it's always important to um, I think it's always important to kind of give yourself an out. You know what I
Mm,
mean? To where you can, because a lot of people they go into like jobs thinking that their job is secure. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna work here for 15, 20 years and then I'm gonna retire and all that. But I think perfectly, this kind of the times that we're in kind of illustrates that nothing's guaranteed, right? And um, you know, it's important, like especially like with companies now, like they'll get rid of you. You know what I
mm,
mean? At any given moment, and a lot of people haven't prepared for that. You know what I mean? So when the company gets rid of you, it's like, okay, now what? You know what I mean? Whereas if you would have took a moment to kind of set yourself up to be able to, like if the company gets rid of you, at that point you're just shifting yourself to where you can still move forward, right?
yeah,
As opposed to it shutting everything down for you. At that point, you're just shifting yourself into, what I'm saying, a different position so you can still move forward and progress.
yeah, no, yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's about showing that um, sort of dedication to self and
Yeah.
dedication to always growing better regardless of the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I think in that moment, the worst thing that I could have done, there were words that I wanted to say, obviously, and uh, there are a lot of things that I could have done wrong in that situation. One would have been completely lose my business, and to get angry over something that's just a video game, when there's
Mm-hmm.
larger things at scale uh, right now to be dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that would have shown Andrew um, that uh, something so minute is worth getting frustrated over.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one. Two, the other thing that I could have done that would have been absolutely horrible in the situation is to blame or put the blame somewhere else. When I know better, I know that we should be saving. I
Yeah.
know that, I can't rely on systems. I can't rely on
Mm-hmm.
people. I can't
Mm-hmm.
rely as the dad, him, to save the game, or he shouldn't rely on me to remind him to save it. Like we've learned our lesson. We've got through the bump. And so the next time it should be like, no, hey man, hey, I check you, you check me, but we both know that one of us has to go in and be like, hey, we got to save it before we exit out.
Yeah.
And I think those two different viewpoints at the same time are a little selfish because either one of us don't want to have to repeat all this for our own individual reasons. Um, and go through this for whatever independent struggle we had, but at the same time, then I think you're focusing as a unit and you're like, I'm just keeping you accountable, but I'm not responsible for your progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you know, as you was talking, it kind of came to me, it kind of dawned on me that there's another very important lesson to be learned is that, um, sometimes you might have to go backwards. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes everything that you had kind of built up and worked towards and you've progressed and you've done all of these things that you were supposed to do, you know what I mean? And you made it far doing it, but then things just kind of fall apart and you kind of have to go back a few steps to kind of regroup and regather yourself so you can move forward again.
And
And
it's real life, and you say those cuss words that you wanted to say.
right,
You
exactly.
you have that breakdown, and you have that outlet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, that does happen in real life. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you at some point. I'm sure, we
yeah.
all kind of deal with it where, we felt like we were headed in the right direction and we made all this progress and then something happens and everything that we kind of built up just kind of like falls apart. And it's like, okay, it's time to go back. I have to go back and regroup and I may have to do a few steps over again, but um, again, you're better for it, right? Because now you have experience and you have the knowledge to when you get back to that step that you was at before, you know what to do now. You know what I mean? Whereas at that point you didn't really know what to do, but now you know, okay, when I get to this point, I need to be saving things along the way, right? So you have the extra experience and extra knowledge.
Man, now that you say that, it totally puts it into perspective because I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about this guy. He's got a million and lost a million like 10 different times in his
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but it's kind of like the same thing to where he knows that he can get $1 million because he knows what that feels like. And it's
Mhm.
just a matter of making it happen. And so, like, even with this video game situation, now we go through the levels, we can get there faster. We can beat them faster.
Right,
We've
right,
already been through it. We know, hey, you got to go
right,
break this thing, you got to go do that instead of
right.
wasting time. Like, I don't know what I'm
Exactly,
doing, and
exactly.
all that stuff. Man, that's crazy. That's full
Yeah,
circle.
yeah, absolutely.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, that's a good thing because you do have to go through setbacks, and then once you're in the setback, you're like, man, like for us, it would be, let's throw it all the way back to getting the. I mean, they don't do it anymore, and obviously probably not in the COVID times, but the free cereal samples in the mail,
Mm,
like I know what that feels like, and to like not have real like milk to put in them, but you like put
right,
water it down.
right.
I know what it feels like to not have electricity. We know what it feels like to go to the store to fill up like the 5 gallon things of
Mm,
water, just so we
mm.
can flush the toilet, brush your teeth, do the
And
necessary things.
heat it up on the stove so you can.
Yeah, I mean, and so like I know what that feels like.
Right.
and some people may not know what that feels like, but I know that I don't want to go back there. But if we had to go back there, I know, hey, this is what we got to do. We ain't got water, we just got to go get the 5 gallon thing, put it back in the
Mm-hmm.
toilet, we brush up, put up a few gallons to brush your teeth, and all that
Right.
stuff. And so
Right.
we've experienced it. But and so when we're there, we'll know what to do, and we'll know, kind of have an idea of the hustle that it takes to get out faster, and what
Mm-hmm.
progress and success actually look like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
dang, you brought it back sort of full circle, man. You then from a completely different angle. Like I was thinking of, I wasn't even thinking about that you're gonna have to take a step back in life, but it's so timely as to obviously what a lot of people are dealing with right now.
Yeah.
They're in that step back period.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can't be afraid to go through that period. You know what I mean? Like it's something that happens to all of us at some point. It's something that happens to the best of us, um even your richest, wealthiest people. Like, I hate to mention 45, but even he's made a bunch of money and lost it and made it back. You know what I mean? So you just kind of have to. You can't get. One of the things that I've learned in life is that you can't get married to wherever you are, because at some point it's going to change.
mm, yeah, for sure. And as a joke and aside, uh, Bezos knows what it's like to lose half of your fortune and then come up on $1 trillion because his wife
Right.
has half, his ex-wife has half of it. But he's like, you know what? I know what that's like. Let me bounce
Right.
back and let me just go to the
Mm-hmm.
next level. I'm at 1 trillion
Mm-hmm.
now with this
Mm-hmm.
COVID thing. Everybody's ordering off Amazon. Can't nobody go
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. He was like, so y'all thought I was dumb, but I was sitting in the office.
Yeah.
Y'all thought I was dumb when my wife took half of my money, but I'm a
Right.
trillionaire now. I'm the only
Right.
one in this
Right.
bracket.
The only one.
I have more money. I could pay back the U.S. budget, the debt if I needed to.
Right. And just a point, he's the only one in that bracket that we actually know about. So
That's fair.
I'm absolutely sure there's people in that bracket that we have no idea who they are.
It's like a meeting of like 5 people.
Right.
So, man, that pretty much wraps up kind of what I had to talk about. It's a little bit of a freestyle. It's not on our topic sheet, but I think that it is uh, something that kind of sparked in the moment, but at the same time, I think more as they come up, more things like this will probably um, end up being good, really amazing conversations for us because there's so much
Mm-hmm.
that happens in life and like right now,
Mm-hmm.
especially that if we pay attention to it, right, we can kind of talk it out together. So.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I do want to add, and I hate that we didn't do this for Suave, is let's tell people where we can find you on social media. Find you and myself.
Oh,
I know you do a good job of doing it at the beginning. And shout out
yeah.
to Remon for producing the show and putting it together.
Oh man, you can find me on Instagram at Urban Advocate. That's all correct spelling, Urban Advocate. You can find me on Facebook at The Urban Advocate. Um, and for any, if you have any questions about where to find me, you can just go to www.theurbanadvocate.com.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm Quincy at Quincy Forte across all channels. And we do have Simple Dad podcast channels. It's the Simple Dad Pod on Instagram. I think it's the same on Twitter. I'm not exactly sure. I messed up the Twitter thing a few times, and Mr. Jack Dorsey is not emailing me back to see if I can fix it. um, but uh, but so if you like what you hear, again, if you listen wherever you're listening to us, give us a good rating, like and subscribe on YouTube. If you have anything that you want to hear more of, any comments, any love, feel free to leave that in the comments.
And also, if you have any topics you would like to hear us discuss, hit us up about that as well.
For sure. Share with all your friends as well. So this has been another episode of the Simple Tap Podcast. I am your host, Quincy Forte, and I have Mr. Remon on the other end. You guys be easy. Stay safe out in these streets, and we'll see y'all next week.
Easy.